an organization that is not profiting. By CAC regulation, it is supposed to be non-profiting. So we are not talking about companies and businesses here. We're talking about organization that is not business oriented, and the aim is not to make income or to generate income or to do business at all. The aim is to legalize the coming together of like minds in business, religious settings, entrepreneur, social gatherings, and the likes, and it's solely to empower and develop each other. It's also to cater for dependent or indigenous, less privileged people. It's just for the purpose of uplifting, coming together of like minds to benefit themselves. It is not for business purposes. It is not business oriented. So we are going to be talking about incorporated trustees, registration of incorporated trustees under Part C of Companies and Allied Matters Act. So bearing all this in mind, knowing that the aims of incorporated trustees is not to make business, CAC is aimed at ensuring that it is not for profit making. The commonest incorporated trustee that we are familiar with are churches, mosques, associations, NGOs, foundations, clubs, and the likes of it. So when you want to register incorporated trustee, what are the requirements for registration? The first thing we need to know is that you need not less than 2 persons that can register incorporated trustees. You have to have at least 2 persons to be trustees of the organization that you want to register. It requires you having a chairman of the trustee and a secretary, then members. You can have as many as possible, at least not more than 15, and you can have up to 15, but not lesser than 2. You can't have one person incorporating incorporated trustee. You have to have at least 2 trustees that can register it. So you have at least 2 people that can be trustees and not more than 15. So who are trustees? These are these people that CAMA recognizes as people coming together to register this. While a proprietor is the owner of a business name, the shareholders and directors are the owners of a company. Here, the trustees are like the owners. They are the people governing the council of the organization. That's why we refer to them as council of trustees. So as we know, business name, proprietor to business name, shareholders to limited liability companies, and trustees to incorporated trustees. So you need to understand that the first thing to be done is to get a name for it. The name you want to use for your organization, either church, mosque, association, like we said, foundations, and the likes of it. You first need to get a name you want to use for the registration. Once the name is ascertained, the next thing to be done is to do what we refer to as availability search, name search with Corporate Affairs Commission. Here we refer to as reservation of code. It is upon registration, application of the name, and if CAC finds it worthy to permit the name, they're going to permit it for you. But if they think the name is not to be used, the name will be denied. But once the name is approved, we need to know some things we need to put into consideration. There are some requirements you need upon the approval of your name. You need to know that there are some documents and some information that will be supplied for the purpose of registration. The first thing is you have to present the passport photographs of the trustees that you want to use. Passport photographs of the trustees. Then means of identification of trustees. Here, for the purpose of identification with CAC, it should either be international passport, voter's card, your driver's license, and national ID card. Those are the 4 types of ID cards that CAC, Corporate Affairs Commission, will accept from you for registration. I said again, international passport, voter's card, national ID card, or your driver's license. Now you're going to submit again your email addresses, the phone numbers of the trustees, the residential address of the trustees, and the personal details of the trustees. It is not all members of a group or club or associations that will be registered as trustees. As stated earlier, you need to have some set of people you regard to as your trustee, which should not be less than 2, can be as much as many as 15. We advise that you have about above 7 trustees and not less than 5 trustees. We advise it's not as a matter of obligation, but we advise it. Gone are the days when people or association appoint trustees to honor them. In the real sense of it, trustees should be people who can go all around to implement the aims and objectives of the association and club. It's customary in time past for people to feel, oh, we have this elderly person around us. There are some people that hold around us. Let's honor them by making them trustees of our association or organization. Gone are the days. Now it is advisable that you get people that can go about, run around to implement the aims and objectives of your association or your club. So it's advisable, like I said, that you use young, energetic people as trustees, people that will virtually not find any excuse when called upon to do any impromptu thing for the association. Research has shown us that many associations are redundant and not effective because the trustees are elderly people who probably feel threatened that the younger ones will take over the association from them. So we are not saying you can't use elderly people. We are only saying you should try as much as possible to use energetic people that can help you to run around to realize the aims and objective of your association. Looking at the difficulty and cost of adding and removing just one trustee, if you want to add a trustee or you want to remove one, there are some costs that you're going to be attracted to, with Corporate Affairs Commission. So if you look at that alone, you will want to at least choose people will take a longer time and longer period before you can be thinking about removal or adding. It is better not to use old people so that the association will not be subjected to constant removal or addition of your trustee that costs you money and time, and most times are always complex. So like we said, always try to use energetic people as your trustees. If you intend to honor any members of your association, your church, your mosque, your organization, your foundation, you can create something like committee of elders. You can make them matron, council of elders, whatever name you call it. Instead of making them trustees, you can do this. Have a council of elders where they will be able to give you their elderly advice and wisdom and share with you. So it's always advisable to use energetic people, like I said earlier. You cannot even make them have a position like advisory body and help and make them, give you advice from time to time. And in order to give them legal backing, it will be part of your constitution of your association. So like I said earlier, upon submitting all these requirements, now you need to know that your association must have what we call constitution. Constitution are like your rules, your regulations, things binding on you, things guiding you, everything as a matter of rule and obligation that guides your association. So you need to have that handy. So how can a trustee cease to be a trustee? If you have appointed somebody as a trustee and probably has been working, and there are some situations that will arise that the person will cease to be a trustee. The first one is when he resigns his office. We have situations, circumstances where the trustee will just, voluntarily want to resign for reason best known to them. So it's an example of how a trustee can cease to be a trustee. Another instance is when he ceases to be a member of the association. Of course, when he ceases to be a member of the association, it's no longer reasonable that he continues to be a trustee of such association. Another one is when he becomes insane, God forbid, but it happens sometimes when people become of unsound mind. Then, of course, the person will cease to be a trustee. Another instance is when he is officially declared bankrupt. Another one is when he is convicted of criminal offense involving dishonesty. And of course, when he is recommended for removal by other trustees or members at the general meeting. And of course, when he ceases to reside in Nigeria. These are the situations or circumstances when a trustee can cease to become a trustee. So upon after knowing the essence of an incorporated trustee, you need to know that the people that can be trustees are one you can trust. And like we said earlier, they are the one will work towards actualizing your aims and objectives. Ensure that they are the people you can trust. So now, what can incorporated trustees do? As said earlier, trustees registrations does not permit making of profit. However, trustees is permitted to raise funds, receive donations, apply and obtain grants in order to achieve its aim and objective. You're not to make profit, but you should bear in mind that you can, receive donations from people. You can get funds, grants from people to for the purpose of achieving your aims and objectives. You can do some businesses that the profit and the proceeds is to the actualization of your aims and objectives, and not to make profit for yourself. It also have the power, incorporated trustees also have the power to make the members to contribute both in cash and in kind, e.g. their dues, levies, donations, donation of properties, and the likes of it. So members can of course donate like levies, like dues. You should know that those are ways by which incorporated trustees can generate funds for themselves. And finally, some of the common aims of incorporated trustees are to empower and protect the interest of members, also to foster a good cause for a goal or a particular person. Sometimes people come together to foster a goal or to foster the development of a particular group of persons. So you understand that. For example, we know Ganifa Wemi, when he was alive, may God rest his soul, was known to be an activist. Some group came together to register an NGO in his name, of course with the consent of his family, to foster human rights activism. That's an example of not-for-profit organization. Most NGOs are mainly to achieve particular objectives ranging from religion, social, cultural, traditional, financial, and objectives. And this aim is at improving the lives of their members or less privileged people. NGOs also effectively commit to community development. We've seen these instances where some NGOs will come around to, dig boreholes in communities, donate to the community, feed old people or widows, do electrification of rural areas, and a host of others. So NGOs are not for businesses, they are not for politics or any other activities that aim at promoting personal gain towards a particular person. That is why the registration and activities of NGO are closely monitored by Corporate Affairs Commission. When all this is clear to you, and once your desire does not fall within business name that we have talked about last week and limited, and you know your desire is probably to foster common good, which we have earlier treated here now, you need to know that the best thing for you to do is to come under incorporated trustee. And note that under Corporate Affairs Commission, the earlier treated forms of registration are the most common. That is the business name, companies that we have talked about, and incorporated trustees now are the most common. Now, to register incorporated trustee, you can do it yourself like we said, but it's always advisable to get a legal practitioner to help you in your registration so as to avoid some grave mistakes that you can do. So after the name has been applied, the next thing is what we call trustees declaration form. The forms will be filled, printed out. You will oath it at the court by commissioner of oaths or by notary public. You scan it up. You make sure that your intention to register incorporated trust is published in 2 national newspapers. You do what we call seal, a common seal for the trustees, and all this will be submitted and uploaded to Corporate Affairs Commission site upon incorporation. And after it's been incorporated and approved, you'll be issued a certificate that authenticates and that proves that you are indeed registered. All these are the things you're going to get upon registration or incorporation of your incorporated trustee. Like we said, you are listening to Legal Clues on Emirate Radio. Sit back, relax. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Legal Clues on Emirate Radio, and as you know, you are listening to Emirate Radio, of course, where we get to talk to you on so many things you need to know in life. On this particular program, Legal Clues, we bring you tips, legal tips, of course, to help you make informed decisions in life, to help you to respect laws and regulations, to help you have access to justice, and to help you to know your rights and obligations as citizens of Nigeria. And we have discussed a lot of things last week and today on this series on how to legalize your business. Currently, we are talking about how to register your incorporated trustees, and that is for non-profit making organizations such as NGOs, associations, churches, mosques, and a host of it that is not for the purpose of profit making. It is not business oriented. Now we have talked about what it means. I'm so glad that I know by now you will be aware of what incorporated trustee means and how you can go about registering it. Like, we need to tell you that there are other registrations that are regulated by the Companies and Allied Matters Act, which we refer to as CAMA, such as limited by guarantee. There are some companies that are limited by guarantee, and a host of it. But the most popular ones are the ones we have talked about on this program. Business name for small scale businesses, companies that's limited, liability company or unlimited companies, that's for not so small businesses, and also incorporated trustees, that is for people of like minds coming together to register an association or organization, not for the purpose of making profit, but for the purpose of fostering their development and helping the less privileged. Those are the most common types of registrations you can have under Part A, Part B, and Part C of Companies and Allied Matters Act. We should know, however, that all this forms of registration may require additional certification or registration before you can operate effectively. It is not just for you to say, okay, I've registered my business name, I've registered my company, our incorporated trustee has been incorporated. There's some other things, like I said, that you need to be aware of upon registration. There are some other things you need to put in mind upon registration. Part of it is what we call tax identification number. Some get it at Federal Inland Revenue Service, some with the State Inland Revenue Service. So it's always advisable upon registration of your company or business name to get a TIN number. This will, afford you the opportunity to pay your tax. You won't be evading taxes. There are a host of things you will want to do in the business world and even personally that you'll be required to present your tax clearance certificate, and once you cannot provide it, you might be denied of these things. So it's always advisable not to evade your taxes. You go ahead to get your TIN, your tax identification number. Make sure that you pay your tax as and when due. Another thing required of you is what we call SCUMO, usually given by EFCC. Is usually a certificate to show that you are not into money laundering. You're going to fill a form with EFCC. It's usually free with the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, and you're going to fill a form. You're going to supply all necessary details of your company or your association or your business, and a certificate will be issued to you. Nowadays, corporate accounts cannot be opened in banks without your SCUMO certificate. They will ask you to get a certificate before you can open the corporate account for your businesses. So it's always advisable to go a step further after registering your businesses to obtain your TIN and of course your SCUMO certificate. So in order for you not to run foul of any of this registration, it is better and advisable, of course, for you to get a professional, for example a lawyer, for proper guidance. So this is all you need to know about not-for-profit organization, incorporated trustees. This is all you know about, this is all you need to know in order to register it, to get it incorporated with Corporate Affairs Commission. In form of recap, there are some things you need to know, like we talked about last week. You need to know that there are laws guiding each business. The kinds of business you are doing will determine the kind of laws that you must comply with, and there is no aspect of business that is not guided by a particular law. So don't be deceived that you can do business without legalizing it. You are probably doing business now and you have not legalized it. The fact that you are doing business and you have not been caught does not mean you will not get caught. The most dangerous aspect of it is that whenever you are caught, You will pay for all the years that you have been doing business without registering or legalizing it in one way or the other. Can be by way of litigation, can be by way of taxation law, can be by way of penalty, by way of fine, or even extreme cases by way of imprisonment. And as we told you earlier, some of the laws that guides the registration of businesses is what can be found in Companies and Allied Matters Act. We also have what we call Income Tax Act, EFCC Act, and of course a host of it. So you should know now. Of course, we're in the 21st century. You can get your registration done by yourself, but it's always advisable that you get a professional, legal practitioner to guide you in the process. It's not a way of obligation. It's just an advice, because if you do it yourself, sometimes you're going to find yourself in some situations, some mistakes that are grave, and makes you even spend more than you would have spent if you had gotten a lawyer to help you in the registration of your businesses. So I believe that with this program, we've been able to enlighten you a bit on how to get your businesses legalized. We have been able to tell you that it's illegal to be carrying on businesses without registering. Part of the benefit that even gives you as a business owner, for example, small scale businesses, if you get your businesses registered, you need not join an association. For example, this Tailors Association, Hairdressers Association. If you get your own registration done and you have your certificate, you need not join the association. Instead of this week they are coming to pack your tools for not coming to meeting, next week they are punishing you, paying or fines for not coming to meetings, you can definitely get yourself registered and stay on your own. This and a whole lot of others are the advantages in registration of your company. It gives your company legal protection. It gives you legal identity. So those are part of the advantages you need to be aware of in getting your companies or your businesses registered. So until next week, where we'll come back to you with another juicy topic. Our prayer for you is that you remain blessed and be fruitful. Have a blessed day ahead of you.